3 things to love about being gifted and neurodivergent. Hi friends, it's Dianne here, and I am wanting to talk to you today about the 3 things that keep me going as a gifted neurodivergent adult person, right? When I was younger and people kept telling me I was gifted, I didn't even know what it meant. And there wasn't anybody around to help teach me these things. And so over my lifetime, I have been learning more and more and more, and I continue to learn amazing things about the meaning of being gifted, the meaning of being neurodivergent, and how it is that we fit into a world that we don't really fit in. Like, how do you make it in a world you don't fit in? And so I want to talk about the 3 things that I really love about it, because sometimes we talk about the big clinical things or the educational things, but I want to talk about practical things today. So I hope that this episode reminds you of your own amazing talents and gifts, and you have a chance to honor your own divergence, your own love, your own being, your own essence, really. So the first thing that I really love about being gifted and neurodivergent is challenge. I've always loved a challenge. In fact, I'm wearing my University of Florida sweatshirt that I got years ago that has satin on it. It's beautiful. And it reminds me of the challenge. I could say college, but it was a university, right? The challenge in life is to resist the way that people pathologize things. People try to make ADHD a pathology or try to make being gifted a problem and all of those things, when really it is the doorway to the answers that we seek. That I grew up believing that there was something inherently wrong with me because I did the world differently. I loved challenge, especially thinking and academic challenges and knowledge-based things and athletic things. I loved them. And I was put down so much and made fun of and humiliated so much that I went way within, and I shut off and masked off those parts of me that really loved challenge. So I secretly did it. And as I've gotten older and I've shed the pain from those uninformed things that people said to me and did, I have become more and more involved in the whole idea of challenge, because we love it. People who are neurodivergent love challenge. Gifted people love challenge. Give us anything to research or understand in all different kinds of ways. Challenge is important. And I love that part of me. I love that when somebody says you can't do it, I say, watch me. I remember doing that in high school before I even really realized what gifted meant. People used to say, well, you can't do that. I'm like, really? And I would pull it off, and usually faster than other people too. Like I had to do it more faster. In fact, I even wrote in my high school yearbook, when they asked the seniors, for our comment or statement or whatever, I remember that it's in there that I believed that as a girl, as a woman, that we had to do twice as much in half the time in order to seem like we're even with the guys. Yeah. That was a pretty big awareness for somebody who was 16. And, but I didn't really even know the gravity of what that meant until much later in my life, when I have been put down and made fun of over the years for being short or being a female or being blonde, whatever it was. Today, I look back and say, thank you to all those people who were ignorant and just didn't know any better, because what they missed out on is the connection with somebody who's really gifted and loves challenge and can rise to any occasion. And so I think it's important that we remember that, right? We go through the ups and downs as gifted people, as neurodivergent people, because the world doesn't really understand us. And one thing I was saying to one of my clients just the other day was that even though we can all say, okay, well, we're in this group called gifted, or we're in this group called neurodivergent, or we're in this group called twice exceptional, even though we can say we're in that group, there's a lot of variance within the group. So I think the challenge that I love to embrace is that everyone ought to step back for a minute and pay attention to honoring the diversity and beauty and essence of all of who every one of us is. That we can use the labels as descriptors, but they're not our identity. It's not all of who I am. There's much more to me. There's much more to you than any label could ever point to. So there's a challenge within that, to take the things that other people might label a liability or a problem and say, that's the asset through which my amazing soul essence comes out into the world, which is what I'm meant to do. And so sometimes all that angst we feel is that part of us trying to emerge. And therein lies the challenge, right? How do we do that in a world that wants everyone to conform in a way that doesn't resonate? So challenge is one of the first things I love about being a gifted adult, because I embrace challenge. I love to take challenges, and I have always done it, and I still love it. And I love to watch other gifted people in their life accepting and living in challenge. It's fun, right? Now, some challenges that we have aren't really fun, or maybe they're thrown on us, right? But see, the gift in that is we can take that challenge that we don't necessarily like, and we can turn it on its head and say, how can I use this for my benefit? How can I use this to move me forward in an amazing way? The second thing I love about being gifted is curiosity. Now, I tell everybody that curiosity is the thing. Curiosity is what keeps us all going. It's curiosity. As I remember when I was a little kid, they used to say, curiosity is what killed the cat. And I'm like, but cats have 9 lives. So hold on, let's keep on going. Let's keep asking questions. I only work with gifted people, and I have some young gifted people I work with in their 20s. And what they do is they research everything I tell them. I'll say anything to them about being gifted, or I'll teach them about an idea or a construct. And then the very next session, they will say, well, I researched this and I looked up that. And how is what I found online go with what you're saying? And that is beautiful. That curiosity is something that is deep and profound and unique to a lot of people, because not everybody has that level of curiosity. Now, I'm very curious about all kinds of things, and I think sometimes it annoys people. I just had somebody working on my house, and I was just standing there just watching, because I'm geeky that way. I want to know the tools, and I want to know how it worked and what he was doing. And he was repairing something I didn't even know existed in a house. And so I'm like, I didn't even know it was a thing, much less what is it and what's it look like and how does it work and what do you do and all those things. And I said, it doesn't bother you, does it, that I'm standing here watching you? Because I felt like I was like a little kid watching, an adult do something. But really, I was a novice watching an expert. And so because I was curious. And he said, oh, no, it doesn't matter. You can watch it. And so I just watched until I was satisfied, until my curiosity was satisfied. And then I went about my business. So we're allowed to be curious. And I love that about being a gifted adult. I get to be curious all the time. My mother used to teach me, she taught me a lot of really amazing things. And she used to always say, honey, you don't have to know everything. You just simply have to know who and how and where to go get the answers to things. Now, I don't know if she said that to me because I have an intellectual overexcitability, and I was always asking a ton of questions and I was curious. And she was trying to teach me that I didn't have to know everything, or whether that was just an overarching kind of lesson, or maybe it was all the above. But I embrace that idea that we can keep learning, always learning, and we can be curious, and we don't have to know everything because we can just know where to find it. I think that's really fun, right? Because curiosity, for me, frees me from the doldrums and the boredoms of everyday life. It's one of the reasons why I like to read books, because when you're reading a book, you're making up the story. You're using your curiosity and your imagination to fill in all the parts, right? You can use your curiosity to solve problems or to engage in relationships. You can use your curiosity to bring into the world something that your heart wants you to bring into the world, but you're not really sure how. So one of the magic questions I always ask is, how? How do I do this? How will this happen? I know that this is something I'm really interested in, I'm curious about, but how? And the how answers start showing up the moment I start asking them. So allow curiosity to be your friend. And when somebody tries to help you not ask so many questions, be really loving and kind and generous with them, and still ask your questions, maybe in a different place or something, right? Because we don't have to stifle ourselves because someone else doesn't understand us. And the next thing, the third big thing, which also starts with a C, that I really love is creativity. Now, creativity is something that I was told from when I was very young that I didn't have. I was told by my third grade art teacher that I had absolutely no skill at being creative and therefore I should not do anything creative. And I took that to heart like I was stabbed in my heart. And I stopped trying to do anything creative. I didn't never try to draw, do pottery, paint, nothing. If it was creative, I wouldn't try it because I was told I didn't have the ability by an authority. Now, I look back on that now and I look at how impressionable a gifted young girl who has an emotional overexcitability, and I'm an empath and I'm very intuitive and sensitive, how that kind of comment from an adult authority figure impacted me for many, many years, holding me back from doing creative things because I had this belief, because she told me it was true, that I could not be creative. It's not true, though, at all. In fact, gifted people are very creative. We're just maybe creative in ways that others may or may not understand. Because I love to cook. That's creative. I write lots of books. We all know how much I love to write. That's creative, right? I've done all kinds of creative things and have been quite happy with them. The moment I freed myself from the trance that this teacher said I had no creative ability. So I had to do a little personal work. I had to do some healing. I had to free myself from that idea that I adopted from the authority figure that wasn't true. And we all have things like that. We all have things that we've adopted because they were said to us or whatever. And when we were really little and we couldn't defend ourselves from them. And then pretty soon what happens is we take it on and we believe it to be true. But it's not true. Not at all. What is true is that we are creative beings. We are meant to be creating something all the time. So what are you creating? Are you creating goodness and compassion and kindness and generosity? Are you creating greed and avarice and fear and pain for yourself or others, right? You know, like I try to put out joy a lot and joyful moments and things that bring goodness to people. And sometimes it's met with mean comments or met with hostility and it's met with rudeness when that is not my intention and nor did I invite that. But some people don't know how to receive joy and happiness and goodness. And so they snark back. They fight back against the very thing they really want because they're unwilling to heal. Because people who project negative onto others, fear and hostility onto others, or what they're really saying is, I'm hurting so bad in here and I feel so alone. And so I'm going to attack anything that could possibly get in. Yeah, it's pretty sad. And at the same time, we don't have to put up with it. And so I've been drawing a lot of boundaries personally lately. And I encourage you to make sure that you protect your own giftedness. You protect your creativity. You protect your curiosity, right? Protect your ability to seek challenge in a way that's healthy. And if you are met by a world that's ignorant or innocent, and the world, people, or whatever the situation, the institution, does not serve your highest gifted good, then begin to seek out other neurodivergent or gifted people who will support you. A large part of my work is being that person that believes in and supports somebody who for decades has not been listened to or heard. I have several clients of mine that were like, where have you been for the last 20 years or the last 30 years? I just wish somebody would have heard me so I didn't feel so alone. And so what all these people have done in common was look outside of themselves for the answer. You know, read books, listen to podcasts, do all those things. And I want to remind you, the answers to every question you're asking are within you. Every answer you're looking for is within you. Your joy is within you. That's your natural state. Your solutions, your answers to the amazing questions you ask, they're all within you. Anything outside of you is kind of like a jumper cable or a mirror, if you will, just trying to remind you of your own beauty and goodness. Because hear me when I say there's nothing wrong with you. You are perfect, you are whole, and you are complete. Where any error could be that could be causing you a challenge is in how are you navigating an insensitive and sometimes hostile world when you have a very sensitive and kind, loving soul. How do you do that? Yeah. Sometimes it's a little tricky. So we hang out together and we support each other. We allow ourselves to feel the challenge of being gifted, to be challenged and challenge ourselves in creative endeavors. That's what we do. And we allow ourselves to be in community. So I want to support you in that, in making sure that you build multiple peer groups, that you allow other people who are twice exceptional or gifted or neurodivergent, whatever word you want, allow people to be in your world. Allow others to be there for you and you be there for others. You know, the golden rule is do unto others as you would have them do unto you. But the part that a lot of people leave out is and do it first. So if you would like people to be there for you, you be there first, right? With healthy boundaries and allow yourself to have connection with other people in a creative, beautiful, curious way. That is what's important. I have a little story. Story is about these two friends, and I've known them for a long time. They've been friends of mine for a long time, but I watched the two of them because there's this cute little dance that they do that I think is so sweet. And they're both gifted, and they both are neurodivergent indifferently, but still the same, you know, still gifted and neurodivergent. And one of them is like this creative artist person, loves to like draw and do sculptures and does all these really amazing things. It's just really fascinating. And the other person is more of an academia type, right? Does a lot of reading and writing and learning and asking questions. So they have a lot of similarities in their curiosity and their challenge and their creativity. It expresses differently. But yet they sometimes are a little bit jealous of each other. Like the one who's the reader, you know, the academic one. It's like, I wish I could draw. I wish I could, you know, do a pottery like you do, you know, to the other friend. And they go back and forth with wishing they could be like the other or have at least some of the skills of the other, right? And so I watch it a lot and I think, well, I don't really have a lot of the same gifts either of them have. I hope have a totally different set of gifts, and I'm gifted and neurodivergent. And so when we create this triangle, and there's a lot of friends in our friend groups that are like this, where we're the same but different. We all have a lot of the same things, and we understand multiple trains of thought at the same time. We understand ADHD paralysis, where we just go in circles and we can't get anywhere. We understand how sensitive we are to overwhelm. And the beauty of our own calling shows up differently for each one of us. And so I want to remind you that your calling is uniquely yours. There's no other person that has the same calling you have. That's where the curiosity and creativity come in. Because the question is, how are you going to bring it out in the creative, most amazing way you are designed to do? That's what's fun, I think. And so you're meant to bring it out. Wasn't a conference call. There's nobody else in the whole world that has the same calling you have. And nobody that has the exact same constellation of talents and gifts and creativity to orchestrate that very cool heart's desire. So I want to encourage you to go out there, go into the world, and bring that part of you forward in the best way you know how. That's what I want to encourage you to do. Because the three things I love about being gifted, having challenge and being creative, right? And having curiosity are just the beginning of how magical and fantastic our lives can be when we're willing to be in the process. Because is every day magical and happy and wonderful? Absolutely not. It's difficult sometimes to be very intense and have intense feelings. It's difficult sometimes to break generations of patterns that we didn't even set up, but yet we have been living out. It's difficult sometimes to feel heard and understood. And at the same time, we're uniquely qualified to free ourselves from that trance, or we wouldn't be given the gifts to do it. And we wouldn't be given the ability to have the awareness to know that it was something to do. So I encourage you, What are the 3 things you love about being gifted and neurodivergent? Send me a note. Put them in the comments. What are the things that you love? What are your top 3 things you love about being gifted and neurodivergent? And as always, feel free to email me or set up a get to know you call, and we can chat about this or anything you want to, because what matters most is that we're all connected and we all have an opportunity to be heard. So thank you for listening, and thank you for being here and being part of the Someone Gets Me world. Please share this episode if it was enlightening for you or it was something that you think somebody else could benefit from. And in the meantime, keep your face to the sun so the shadows fall behind you, because you're a rock star. You are here on purpose with a mighty purpose. So go out there, let your light shine, bring that inner fire to life. And until the next episode of Someone Gets Me, this is Dianne saying, be well.